In the materials that accompany the new album, you talk about wanting to strike both an emotional and intellectual chord with your listeners. It's something
Mhm.
that's always fascinated me because I think new music often does that. But what does that mean to you?
What I want to say is that in this experimental and also academic field of music, there are like two ways of perceiving or doing music. And the first way in this academic world is more a conceptual way of thinking, also just to write down a concept and an idea. And this is very intellectual. And then there is this other way of approach, and this is more like the heart approach, like the emotions, and like just being able to listen to music without thinking too much. And for me, both I was also all the time since I'm a child, I'm between these two different worlds and these two different understandings of musical reception. And so it was always very hard for me to decide which way I want to go. I want to be an academic composer, and also all the time doing concepts and working with my intellectual potential, or just doing by heart and just doing what I just listening to my intuitions.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a bit the point. And for me, it's a bit, my music is a bit in between of these two things. And I think it's very nice to just to touch someone without any conceptual background. This is for me personally the most important thing. But also to be able to touch something a bit deeper, like to move the listener to dive a bit deeper into understandings, and also to make intellectual work for while listening. This is also something that interests me. So I'm between these two things.
Is this a central idea to your work, the combination of those two things?
Oh, I don't know if this is an essential idea. I'm not sure if I have an essential idea, so it's certainly it's part of my music, but it's not the main idea that I have when I think about my music.
Well, you clearly think very deeply about the work that you do. What is the main idea?
There is no main idea. That's always a big question in all the interviews. And for me, there is no main idea. That's the beautiful thing, or also the problem. I don't know. It's a perspective. It's a Yeah. How can I say? I mean, I just do music because I have this this power in me. I just want to do it. And it's difficult to describe why or what is the main idea behind. Maybe I could say my main idea is I want to do something that is original, or something like there is something new in that way. That new is difficult because there is never something really new, because everything is a variation of something, and we are all learning from things and then just developing a bit, like. But I want to make something that is fresh and not copy pasting musical genres. And that's, maybe I could say, my main idea. Yeah. In
There is a
composing.
theme, there is a theme in both your debut album and the EP that preceded it earlier this year, and that is matter.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the significance of that theme to this work.
For me, matter, I choose that because I see myself like, for example, a painter that is working with material. For me, even if it's not touchable, for me, music and musical material is like any other material. You can form it, you can, like, almost touch it, even if it's so small that you cannot really feel it. But I have really this impression that I'm doing sculptures with sound and air, and I mean it's vibration, and the air, it's part of our material world somehow. So that's why I wanted to precise that for me the sonic world is also material some way.
It seems to me that there has been a real evolution in what we used to call just simply ambient music and new classical music into this idea of sound art, which is a fairly difficult thing to explain to someone who's never thought about it, difficult thing to really characterize in any specificity. Is sound art a meaningful term to you? Do you see that in your work?
Yeah, sound art even more than ambient, because for me it's difficult to to feel comfortable in any categories. I really don't see me in any of these categories or these genres. And sound art is more, it's neutral, you know, it's just telling that you are doing art with sonic material. So that's the best way to describe, yes, this kind of music, because ambient is too connotated and all the other things exactly the same.
Well, there's too much bad ambient, right?
Yeah, I don't know, it's like boring, it's
Mm.
just lounging. I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's the connotations are not really positive in my ears.
In some respects, sound art is a kind of anti-category because, as you say, it's simply expressing the notion of a audio medium.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's fine, because then you are free as a listener and also as a composer. You are free to define by yourself which kind of style you hear then inside of this sound art. And that's for me the most important thing, that I don't want to guide listeners into something already, like saying, oh, you know, this is ambient, so you have to lie down on your bed while listening to my album, or we all have to be on the floor, I don't know, whatever. And so I like the idea to just let everyone free with the idea, what can I do with this music? What is my personal approach or assimilations or connotations? That music has this power to make memories awaken again in the minds of people. So for me, this is something very beautiful, and I would like to let everyone think about things that are very individual.
Mm. So you don't have specific ideas that you're trying to communicate. You'd rather prompt the imagination.
Yeah, I have my own like personal ideas, and of course I was thinking about a lot of stuff while doing this album, but this doesn't matter. This is not universal. This is my personal cool something, like this is not, I don't want to give any messages. The most important thing with art in general, I think, it's that the medium, the material that is the oeuvre, this is standing for itself. This is telling you so many things. So you don't need an ego behind this, that is, hey, I did it, hey, I'm this and this, and no, that's not my interest.
How does all of this inform your process? Tell us about how you produce the work.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's a lot. There are like different timelines when doing such a work. So there is the more long timeline, like since I'm producing music, I have a lot of material of recordings, and this is like a library that I have, and this is my sound library that I build up since years. And then there is a shorter timeline where I decide, okay, I do one track, I do the next, I do like this is a shorter timeline. But altogether it's a combination of what you did like years ago and what you wanted to do concretely now for this kind of work. So I combine my collected sounds and then I choose maybe just 2 seconds of sound, like very short, and then I start with this. So I start very, very small, and then it grows, it grows, it grows, and it becomes a track or like a song. And yeah, that's how I work. I only start with one little thing, one little sound, and if this is good enough in my ears and I have like inspiration with it, I can imagine like a whole track then, and then I follow this imagination, and of course at the end it's never like I imagined. It's something else, but still the imagination helped me to achieve something similar. Or yeah.
Do you relate to the compositional approach of other artists, past and present? Have you learned from others? Have you applied lessons from others to your approach?
Yeah, I mean, I don't apply methods like very concretely, but of course, I'm very influenced by classical music. I learned classical piano since I'm a child, and I learned all the repertoire of the Western classical music and also the Russian classical music. I learned a lot of stuff there, and of course, this was for me something very crucial for my compositional thinking. And I don't, yeah, I think this is it. I'm very influenced by this, was that what I learned as a child and then at the conservatory. And still I want to apply what I learned, but also want to escape from it somehow. It's a bit also a mixture between both.
One of the things that I've tried to do with the moderns is combine the works of people like yourself who come from this very informed, almost historical approach to the work.
Yeah.
With, kids with laptops who are kind of blank slates, who just play with the technology. It seems that the former brings something special to this work, though. I have to say that there is a kind of substance there, whether you are applying lessons or as you say, kind of forgetting those lessons, rejecting those more traditional approaches to music.
Yeah.
It does seem to produce something very special, and I hear that in your work. How conscious are you of your training when you're working?
That's a good question. I'm yeah, I mean, I'm not the kind of composer that is like applying like contrapoint rules or like harmonic structures rules. I always worked like this since I'm a child. I was more the improviser type and not the composer type that was, I hated writing down notes, for example. Like for me, it was always much more productive to improvise. So in some way, I'm aware that I know when I'm playing something, and even if it's an improvisation, I know that my brain learned, okay, if I'm in B flat, it's easy to go then in E flat or something, because it's just at the right side of it, something like this. I mean, I know that I have techniques in my brain that are like inside forever, but I'm not consciously training this for compositions or like applying it with rules. It's just a scarf inside me that will never go away. And yeah, so it's aware, but not totally.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the improvisational process, but then also the compositional process when you're listening to different sounds and taking segments and applying ideas and so forth.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a kind of intuitive approach to both that seems to connect.
Yeah, these two are connected, and the improvisational approach is in first line. So I start with this very institutional kind of work, and then that's also the moment when I record something, or I just play something and I think, this is nice, I will remember this because it was very nice, and then maybe I record it or whatever, or write it down. And then with this basement, I can then compose. And composing is then really in the computer, in the software. And what's so nice with electronic music, and that's not possible with paper, is that while you are composing the things, and even if you are very like cutting the things and doing a lot of details, you're always into the sound. You're always listening to it at the same time. And with the piece of paper, you have to imagine it in the head. And with electronic music, you're always with sound, never a part of it. So that's something that is magical for me with electronic music. It's not possible with other mediums. You like with acoustical kind of orchestration compositions. You have to write it down, and then you have to go to rehearsal and to listen. Okay, I should have written it differently. And with electronic music, you have always the result instantly. Like, okay, that's cool. No, I hate it. Oh, I love it. like
This has been an awfully big year for you. We've received your premiere LP, your EP before that. And yet the work feels, to me, really fully formed. You impressed me as a very advanced artist, even as we were hearing you for the first time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm wondering where you've been, for starters. But I guess more precisely, why now? What has prompted you to finally share with us?
Oh, because I was like, it's a mess. My life was a mess. No, I had a lot of I had a lot of issues. For me, school was something very difficult for me because I suffered a lot with social things and pressure things, and I hated just to sit the whole day. And then I had also problems with music. I just stopped because I was too stressed and I had a lot of problems. And so I lost a lot of time. I mean, I never really stopped playing music. I always played the piano. I had a piano at home since I'm very young, but I stopped to do it like in a productive way. And then, like when I was 25, I decided, okay, now I will also study it and I will go into it really strongly again. And so, yeah, I lost a lot of time. And then I was too shy to just say, I want to release something. I'm not ready, because I had a lot of respect for all the technical things in electronic music. I wanted to be sure that I've learned it, I can do it by myself, I don't need any help, and then I'm ready somehow. And yeah, that takes, I mean, art takes time, and I'm 31 now, and still it's okay. I mean, I'm not so young, but I'm not 50, so it's okay.
What's next for you?
my next for next year, I'm planning now to create an audiovisual show. So I'm working with an artist that Christopher Jaggerson. He's living now in Zurich as well, and he will do some. It's incredible. He's doing really nice visual things like 3D computer generated things. So I will do a show with him, and then I have a duo with Feldermelder. He's also on the label, and he's the co-producer of the label, co-founder of the label, and he's also my partner. And we are doing this duo Musique Infinie, and we have already 2 albums now finished, and we will release them hopefully next year on Hello Ground and on Us. And for this, I want to investigate now really the whole year, because we also want to build a big live show, also audiovisual and with lights, and preparing a tour. And also for my solo, I want to prepare a tour and like all these professional things that I never imagined to do. You know, now I'm really into it, and I'm freaking out somehow. Like I'm not feeling ready like since years ago. But yeah, one day you just have to jump into the cold water and do it.
You're more than ready.
Yeah, somehow, yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for this, Noemi. Really a pleasure to connect with you.